Understanding quadratics. Quadratic equations are functions that have graphs in the shape of a parabola, or a U shape. The axis of symmetry is the line through the vertex of the parabola that divides the parabola into two congruent halves. Its graph is the line x equals h, which h is just the x-coordinate of our vertex. The standard form of a quadratic function is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a cannot equal 0. Okay, so now this a, b, and c are all just constant terms, and they all represent certain things. For example, a tells you if there is a reflection over the x-axis, and the b tells you where the axis of symmetry is going to lie, and the c will tell you the y-intercept. There are several properties of parabolas that will help us to understand how to graph and what a graph of a parabola actually looks like. If a is greater than 0, then the graph is going to open up, and so it look something like a U. If a is less than 0, so a negative number, then the graph is going to open down, so it's going to be more of an N shape. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line, and it will always be at the equation x equals negative b over 2a. The vertex will always occur at the point negative b over 2a and f of negative b over 2a. So that just means you take that x value, b over 2a, and then you put it into your original equation, and then that's your vertex. And the last property of a parabola is that c is going to be where it crosses the y-axis. It is your y-intercept term. The domain of any quadratic function is the set of all real numbers. However, the range of a quadratic function is going to depend on its vertex and the direction that the parabola opens. For these examples, we want to just describe the parabola. What does it look like? Where is it placed on the graph? So, for the first thing we want to look at, is it going to open up or open down? Well, since my a term is greater than 0, so it's going to open up. So my graph is going to look like a U shape. For my next part here, we want to be able to find our axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry is going to have something to do with my negative b over 2a. So x equals negative b over 2a. My b is negative 4, so negative 4 over 2 times my a, which is 2. So double negative is going to make it a positive 4 over 4, or 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 1. So it opens up, and then the axis of symmetry is at x equals 1. And the next thing that we're going to look at is part C here. We're going to actually find our vertex. So I know that my vertex is going to be negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. So I already know my negative b over 2a, so that's 1. I just need to find the second number. So to find the second number, I'm going to put it in for all my x's. I'm going to find f of 1. So that would be 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 5. So that would be 2 minus 4, which is negative 2, plus 5, which is 3. I'll type it in the calculator, make sure. So my vertex is at 1, 3. And the last thing that I want to look at is, where is my y-intercept? Where am I going to cross the y-axis? Well, that's at C. The y-intercept is c, and c equals 5, so that means my y-intercept is when my x is 0, my y is going to be 5. So I know that it's going to open up. I know that my x is equal to 1 for my axis of symmetry. I know my vertex is 1, 3 for my, and for my y-intercept it's 0, 5. So that tells me enough information that I can easily graph this function. Alright, so we're going to do another example. F of x equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3. We want to describe this quadratic function. So first we find our direction. We see that our a is negative. It's negative 1. So a is less than 0. Therefore, it's going to open down. Next, my axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry is going to be the line x equals negative b over 2a. So my b is negative 2, so negative 2 over 2 times my a, which is negative 1. So that's going to be double negative on top, so make it a positive 2. 2 divided by negative 2 is a negative 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. Next, my vertex. Well, my vertex is going to be negative b over 2a, comma, f of negative b over 2a. So I already know part of that. Part of that is the negative 1. And then I need to find f of negative 1. So that would be negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 plus 3. So if I work on that, that's negative 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 4. So my vertex is negative 1, 4. And finally, the last step is to find my y-intercept, which is my c, and I know c is equal to the last constant term there, which is 3, so my y-intercept is going to be 0, 3. And that's how I can find the information that I need to graph. Those are your notes over understanding quadratics. Go through the practice problems so that you can get comfortable with these types of problems, because we are going to spend the rest of the chapter working with quadratics and polynomials.